based on your recommendation, I went and I watched the Eddie Murphy documentary.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I did worth a shit this whole week.
And any thoughts?
I thought I enjoyed it, and B, Eddie Murphy is right there with probably Kinnison for me at the very tippy top of the ladder.
Okay.
You know, that said, I thought that they let the movie star have a lot of leverage on the fact that his last 30 years were bad. They kept saying things about, oh, I love the way that you opened the door for black people with Norbit so that you could. No, Norbit was terrible. Vampire in Brooklyn was terrible. Bowfinger was terrible. And they kept saying, well, this movie showed that Eddie opened the door for black men to do this. And black men... No, it didn't. No, it did not. First of all, Richard Pryor, and they even said it in the movie, Richard Pryor had a whole career of movies before.
He did.
With what's his name? Gene Wilder.
Yeah, Gene Wilder.
Yeah. So, Richard Pryor opened all those doors. And they were just making excuses to try and hide the fact that these movies were bad. They were just bad. But that all being said, it was kind of weird listening to him talk about how he was in that big empty cavern of a house after his divorce, wasn't it?
Right.
It was like, yeah, I feel real bad for you, Ed. He's closing a silo roof on his oh, it's cold in here. I better close the roof. Yeah. He has this thing that probably costs $500,000 to put in his house.
Right.
And he's like, oh, this was a very empty, cold place. No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. It was a $150 million mansion. It's a gorgeous place, no matter who's in it. Stop it. But other than that, I did enjoy the documentary. Didn't really learn a whole lot, I guess. I didn't really realize that he had bad blood with Saturday Night Live people for a while, but other than that, I don't think I learned very much of anything. Did you?
Yeah, well, his whole life and existence has been on public display. Mm-hmm. So if you paid any attention to his career at all, I mean, you were probably aware of probably most of the happenings in his life. But I found the first part of the documentary the most interesting, just because it just you forget how quickly his star rose.
Oh yeah.
In such a very, very small window.
Sure.
And how popular he became in a matter of 5 to 7 years.
Sure. Is he the most successful black actor of all time? Or is that Denzel?
Hard to say. I mean, Eddie has been consistently working since the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And in so many different roles and formats.
True. Mm-hmm.
So I from a standpoint of conquering various roles, from serious roles to funny roles to animated roles to he's done them all.
Sure.
So you gotta give the guy credit for everything he has accomplished, whether you enjoyed all of his work or not. But obviously for us, we discussed this before, that his earliest work is our favorite.
Oh, of course.
Dude,
were you bummed watching this thing when he basically blew off what he had said a year ago about going back and doing comedy?
Yeah.
I was bummed when he was like, yeah, I've already done that. I don't need to do that. I don't have nothing to say.
But would he be funny, though? Even if he went back and did it, do you think he'd be funny?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? He's been very wealthy for a long time.
Yeah. I just think he'd be very careful.
Yeah.
About what he would say, because when he did Raw and what was the other one?
Delirious,
yeah. When he did those two, he had nothing to lose at that point.
True. Mm-hmm.
Now
he might go all Bill Burr now.
Yeah, that's you took the words right out of my mouth. I was actually just gonna say that he'd be like Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Not funny. Just not funny at all. He'd just do observational humor.
Right.
Very safe.
Yeah, just safe,
Let's
easy.
same thing with Chris Rock. Chris Rock, he very funny, very edgy. Last
Yeah.
couple of stand-ups, not so much.
I'm gonna be honest, I think the same about Chappelle.
Same thing. I agree. Completely agree.
Chappelle, everybody worships him as like the guy now, and he hasn't done anything funny for me since the Chappelle show.
Yeah. So, and his style of quote unquote stand-up comedy these days is more commentary. It's not really funny. It's just commentary.
Right.
Social commentary is what he does, and it's not, it might be insightful in things in some areas, but it's not funny.
Right.
I didn't find anything. I watched the last couple, and I was just like,
Yeah.
not so much.
Yeah. Same here.
So when you're young and hungry and trying to make something of yourself, that's when you put it all out there. But once you made it to the top, what else are you going to do that's going to be edgy or funny?
Sure. And once you get rich, your stories stop being relatable to regular people.
True.
That's the other thing is, what's Eddie Murphy going to talk about that we can relate to? Well, I was at the Lamborghini place and I couldn't decide between the sky blue and the jet black.
Right.
It's like, yeah, okay, Ed, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
As I sit here trying to save up to get brakes for my car.
That's too funny. Well, how did the shows go this week? The Chris Akin presents and your Seth Williams show. How did those go?
Well, there was no Cap this week.
No?
Eric was recording on the new Stephen Pearcy record, so
all right.
He was away from home yesterday or Tuesday. I believe he did his show, Eric Ferrantino's Unleashed, last night. As far as Seth's show, it happened.
It happened.
It came, it went.
You led the charge as usual.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just did it. I don't even remember what we talked about. Quite honestly, I really don't.
Yeah.
So they happened.
Yeah, I get you. Well, I took a trip down to St. Louis with the Dockin boys and hung out with Don and John and Chris and BJ and Troy and the whole group was there. It was the last Dockin show of the year.
Okay.
And it was good to get together. But who came to the show who I haven't seen in 10 years?